What kind of truck can you get for $450 in 2023? That's the question I asked myself, and this is it. But just looking at it, you don't really know what you got. So what does $450 get you in 2023? It gets you a V10 with broken exhaust manifold studs on the passenger side. It gets you rusted out cab corners and a bed that technically exists, but only technically. It gets you two-wheel drive. It gets you various bumper stickers of the political and tacky variety. It gives you aftermarket taillights that mostly work. It gets you tires that are bigger on the back than they are on the front, and a step that is a lie. There's no metal left under that plastic. It gets you two deer whistlers, and ironically, a grill that was broken from hitting a deer. It gets you a transmission that is in surprisingly good shape for a 200,000 mile truck. And a frame that is in surprisingly good shape for a 200,000 mile truck. And it gets you a bit of a story. So, a couple of weeks ago, I got a concussion and asked myself a question. What kind of pickup can you buy for $450 in 2023? So, as I was being chauffeured around the county, because I wasn't allowed to drive because concussion, I hopped on the old Facebook Marketplace and I searched for Ford pickup, sort by cheapest. And this was one of the biggest ones that came up. So, what we have here is a beautiful piece of engineering. It is a 1999 F-250 Superduty, two-wheel drive with the V10. So, the story goes that the guy had bought the truck from someone who had bought it for parts. Not a great first start. And that it was missing a radio and its catalytic converter. And that it didn't run and probably needed an engine. So after talking to the guy a little bit, he reveals that he drove it home from work and parked it, and then we had a cold spell. And he went out to start it that morning when it was about -30, and it cranked and cranked and cranked, and then the starter just kind of slowly cranked slower and slower until it didn't crank anymore. And he assumed that that meant the engine was locked up. So I told him, well, now he was asking $1,200 for it, which isn't a bad deal, but it's more than I wanted to spend on this video. I told him, well, taking into account the general condition of the truck and the fact that it has an unknown as whether the engine is good or not, I'll give him $450. So he said, bring me the money and I'll give you the title. So that's what we did, and then dropped the money off at 12:30 at night in a really sketchy part of one of the bigger cities, and went home, came back the next weekend to look at it. So I climbed into this thing, and of course most of you have probably already guessed, engine's fine. What he had killed was not his engine, it was his starter. So I climbed into this thing, tried to start it, just had a click, didn't start. Just clicked every time you'd hit the key. So I drove myself down to O'Reilly's, used the corporate account, got myself a starter for an entire $75. So now we are $525 in on the truck, and it took me about 10 minutes to change the starter out. And I was also teaching my brother how to do it, who is very not mechanically inclined. So take that into account on the time. That's how easy the starter was to change on this thing. So, but now we have a running V10. A very loud running V10 that doesn't run right. So I hooked up the old code reader and read that check engine light, and we've got a check engine light for cylinder lean bank 2, or we just have a bank 2 lean condition. All right, so you pop the hood here. And remember, this is a V10 two-wheel drive unit with the notorious Triton V10. So what are the Triton V10s notorious for, you may say? Well, they're notorious for popping exhaust studs. That's what they're notorious for. Don't know if I can get down at an angle where you can see. Maybe. Probably not. Anyway, all but one of the exhaust studs on the passenger manifold are broke. So I'll have a video on how to fix that. But that is where the poor running comes from, because the truck thinks that it is lean. So it's dumping fuel into the engine, into the passenger side of the engine, to try and even it out. So we're actually getting a severe rich running condition on this side, which causes that chop at idle. It doesn't really affect drivability going down the road, but for $550, that ain't bad. Or $525 we're in it right now. So then I started driving the thing, and I smoked a telephone pole with it one wintry day because I forgot it was two-wheel drive and expected it to turn like a four-wheel drive. My own stupid fault, but we busted off that lens, so there's a replacement in the cab that I haven't thrown on yet, dented in that bumper, put a dent in the body. That's the only damage that I have caused to it. I spent $20 patching that tire after getting it hit. So now we are $545 in, $565 if you want to add the cost of the light that I haven't put on yet. And of course it's got rust, but it's really only the cab corners and just a little bit of the rockers that are rusted out. Same on the other side. Now, here's the main reason he couldn't sell this thing for his asking price. There is no bed left. When I say no bed, I mean no bed. It is just gone. And it's got some weird electrical gremlins. Occasionally the turn signals and brake lights quit working, but you've still got the third brake light, so it's all right. So, I suppose that answers our question. What does $550, or what does $500 buy you these days as far as a pickup? It gets you a crew cab, two-wheel drive V10 that needs a lot of work, and a bed, which will be resolved in an upcoming video. It gets you busted exhaust manifold studs and a broken grill. It gets you from A to B in a reasonable manner. It gets you permanent hearing loss from the massive exhaust leaks. But for $550, I don't think I can complain too much. That's going to be it. Just a quick little video, quick little walk around on the Lovejoy Shipbox Sanctuary tow rig here. The as my friends affectionately call it, the Superduty. Thanks very much. We'll see you guys in the next one.